Aloha, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to another week of Trauma Recovery University. I'm your host, Athena Moberg, and with us in the green room, of course, is your incredible co-host, Bobby Parrish. So we, Athena Moberg and Bobby Parrish, show up here every single week, and we answer your questions in the community for adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse. So are you in the right place? If you are an adult survivor of childhood abuse, specifically childhood sexual abuse, this is live Q&A, weekly live Q&A. If you are listening on a podcast platform like iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, or even iHeartRadio, we want to remind you this is a video broadcast. This is weekly live Q&A, and you can find us on our Roku TV channel or over on our YouTube channel. You can find us easily by searching for Trauma Recovery University. If you are here live, please send us your questions on Twitter by using the hashtag #NoMoreShame. And if you're not here live, just as a convenience for you, down in the description section of this video, towards the very bottom before you get to the comments, you will find a little blurb that says if you're not here live and you're watching a replay and you just want to look at the screen share and you don't want to listen to people's questions, simply click here. That is there for you as a convenience. So tonight's topic is cognitive dissonance. This is the second Twitter chat of 3 Twitter chats in the week that we, the abuse survivor community, the sexual abuse survivor community, participate in. Bobby and myself lead both hashtag CSAQT and hashtag #NoMoreShame, and those are Twitter chats. You're here at a Twitter chat with a video sort of combo. There's a video element to this Twitter chat. You can either go over to Twitter and just follow along, or you can hang out here with us every single week, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday. Sex abuse chat, started by Rachel Thompson, is every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and that's been around for a couple of years now. And our community is just growing by leaps and bounds. Bobby and I are very, very proud that our YouTube channel now reaches over 70 countries and that we have a combined following of 20,000 people that are all healing in Safe Community. So if you are not plugged into Safe Community yet and you want to be welcomed into one of our globally accessible safe groups that can be accessed on Facebook, and it's private, they're secret. No one will be able to find you or see what it is that you're typing or liking or reading. They won't know that you're receiving support if in fact you are currently in a dangerous situation. It is a safe support group for anyone who is an adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse. We do have 3 groups that you can belong to in the sexual abuse community. We have one that is for all women. We have one for men and women, and we have one specifically for the LGBTQ community, and that's all for adult survivors of childhood abuse, specifically childhood sexual abuse. If you are a survivor of narcissistic abuse, we also have a globally accessible safe group for anyone who has survived narcissistic parenting or a partner relationship, romantic partner relationship with someone who is cluster B, narcissistic, or otherwise predatory. So please go over to the About section of our YouTube channel and follow a very simple 4-step process and get plugged into Safe Community so that you can begin healing, and healing at an exponential rate so that you're not doing this alone, because you are not alone. So, just as a thank you, last thing before I turn this over to Bobby Parrish, if this is your first time or if this is your 100th time, we always give you a gift, just a free gift, because we just want to say thank you for being here with us. We appreciate you very much. And as a thank you, just for being a loyal listener or viewer or subscriber or just an awesome survivor, we want to offer you complimentary access to tonight's downloadable PDF resource, which can be found on both of our websites, traumarecoveryuniversity.com, and nomoreshameproject.com. You will see a tab that says downloadables, and when you click on that, you will be asked for your email address, and you'll be given immediate access not only to tonight's downloadable one-page resource titled Cognitive Dissonance, but to all of our one-page downloadable resources that we have starting way back in August of 2014. So if you decide to go back and binge watch our episodes, like we were saying on a prior video, please just an extra measure of grace, as sometimes our audio drops off, our video drops off. Sometimes we're just not even there, and we just didn't know what we were doing. It was a couple years ago. So a couple years later, and here we are, and we're so happy to still be serving this community together. So tonight's topic of cognitive dissonance is one that can be quite confusing and overwhelming. So we will be navigating the waters of that with you and walking you through it step by step. You are not alone. Without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to my business partner and incredible colleague, Bobby Parrish. And she's going to go ahead and update us on some exciting things going on in our survivor community, as well as our conference coming up during No More Shame November, and all kinds of other fun stuff with some fundraisers that we have going on. Take it away, Bobby.
Hey, everybody. It's so good to see you again. As Athena said, we love showing up every week and being here with you and talking to you about what it takes to go through this journey called recovery. From childhood abuse, specifically childhood sexual abuse. And we don't take it for granted every week that we get the honor of being here. So we're grateful that you're here. I want to issue a big old trigger warning. This is a video or a live broadcast, depending on what you're watching, that discusses childhood abuse. So please practice excellent self-care while watching the video or while listening to the podcast, because it can be triggering. And if you get triggered, please just go ahead and turn things off. You can come back to it later. If you're watching live, it'll be up on YouTube, up on iTunes within a matter of about 24 hours. So you're not going to miss anything other than being able to participate in the live tweet. You can always just shut the video down if you're watching live and participate only in the Twitter chat too. Somehow we have found that the combination of watching the video along with doing the Twitter feed can make people particularly vulnerable to being triggered. So if you shut down one or the other, sometimes that helps too. If you are in crisis right now, we ask that you not seek support on the Twitter stream, the No More Shame Twitter stream, because it triggers others, and we want this to be a safe process, a safe place for everyone who's attending. We certainly do encourage you to seek support. In fact, we have some information for you on that. If you are in the US or Canada, you can reach out to RAIN, and that is the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network. And they are at 1-800-656-HOPE, H-O-P-E. You can also connect with RAIN on their website. They have a 24/7 crisis chat line, and that's on their website at rain.org, RAINN.org. If you're in the UK, you can connect with the Samaritans. You can reach them by phone at 116-123. You can also text them at, I have it here on a little sticky on my computer, 0775-909090. And bless their hearts, you can also get support from them via email. Just email Joe, J-O, at samaritans.org. If you're in Australia, where we have a growing community of followers, we invite you to reach out to your national crisis line, which is at 131114. And we'll add more numbers, more crisis resources for you as our community grows around the world. So really quickly, between now and tomorrow night, our t-shirt sales, to buy yourself a nifty No More Shame t-shirt, hashtag No More Shame t-shirt, that ends tomorrow night. So get on the website, www.booster.com/Trauma Recovery University, and you can buy your t-shirt. And they will be delivered about 2 weeks from tomorrow. I ordered mine today, and they said that mine would be at my house by the 28th. So that's 16 days from when the sale ends tomorrow. So hop on over and order your t-shirt. Again, that's www.booster.com/Trauma Recovery University. And we are also delighted to remind you of our conference, November 11th, 12th, and 13th in Orlando, Florida. And it will be from Friday morning at 8 o'clock until Sunday at noon. We are so excited. We have wonderful speakers signed up. We have a conference full of information, jam-packed full of information to give to you about recovery and how child abuse affects us. We've also designed a lot of fun to happen at the conference, good food, and a chance to be in community with one another. If you're worried about going and feeling out of place or like you don't belong, I want to let you know that we have started a Facebook group specifically for people who are attending the conference. And we already have people in there, and they're talking to one another about, okay, what airport are you flying through? Can I connect with you there? Can we share a hotel room? And they're making friends already, so they know when they go to the conference, they'll already know some people, and they will have made some connections. And we will do everything that we can to help you to come to the conference if that's what you want to do and feel comfortable and welcome there. We're also going to have an art room at the conference that will be available during all of the conference programming, that if you feel a little overwhelmed or maybe a topic is too triggering for you, you can just go sit in there and socialize, do some art. We're not going to be building sculptures. We're going to have some coloring pages. We'll have some other different kinds of arts. We'll have lots of things for you to tackle. I've got my eye on a spirograph set. You remember those from when you were a child? I know I'm dating myself here.
I loved spirograph.
I know. Me too.
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun.
I know.
With the different colored pencils, you could make the different things.
Yeah. The gears. Yeah. So we're just going to have all sorts of fun things for you to do in there in a smaller, safe space in case you feel overwhelmed at the conference. So please join us. We are this close to having the registration ready to go up and live. And so we invite you to make sure that you are on our mailing list so we can let you know when it goes live, to watch our Trauma Recovery University Facebook page, and watch here on Twitter for the announcement that the registration link has gone live, and we can't wait to see all of you there. So that's it. And yes, again, tonight we were talking about cognitive dissonance. It is a little bit of a confusing topic. I've had people say, well, didn't we already cover that one? We've covered cognitive distortions. This is cognitive dissonance. And so Athena has some excellent examples for us that will hopefully define the topic a little bit better so that you feel more comfortable with it and you can ask more targeted questions on the Twitter stream. #NoMoreShame right now. And so I'm going to turn this back over to Athena, and she is going to share her examples, and hopefully that will illustrate the topic more for everyone.
Thank you so much, Bobby. You guys, after this morning's first chat of the week, #CSAQT, which incidentally happens every single morning, 7 a.m. Hawaiian time, 10 a.m. Pacific, and 11, 12, noon Central, and 1 p.m. Eastern. Oh my gosh. And I don't even know what time that is.
Mad math.
Oh my word. Yeah. It's 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time for our UK friends. And that chat, #CSAQT, stands for Childhood Sexual Abuse Question Time. And it was originated for the huge growing audience and following and the growth of the community in the UK, in the sexual abuse community, survivor community. So we hope that you'll continue to join us and tell people that they have support out there. So anyway, the reason that I got these great screen shares and these examples was after our chat this morning, #CSAQT, I was beginning to realize that it's difficult. Not only is it difficult for us to understand what cognitive dissonance is as it pertains to us, the survivor, and what it looked like when we were children and what it looks like now, but the whole fabric of our world unravels because we begin to, not only do we not understand what the topic is, so we start shaming ourselves because we automatically believe that we're supposed to already know what the topic means, because we as survivors we were told and trained for so many years that we're supposed to know everything. And when we go to ask a question to whether it was our abuser, one of our abusers, or an enabler, or a toxic family member, we were shamed for either not knowing the answer, or even if we did know the answer, they always knew better and they had a better answer. So there's always shame involved when we don't understand something, especially as survivors. And then on top of that, the topic of cognitive dissonance is difficult for an adult to comprehend and understand and tease apart, let alone a child. And when you're a child, you don't know what that is, and you don't know what's going on. And there's different layers of mind trickery, or another word that I won't use right now. But there's so many different layers of mind trickery that go on when we talk about cognitive dissonance. So in order to help us, the survivor community as a whole, understand what cognitive dissonance is, what part it played during our abuse when we were children, and what it looks like now as an adult, I have some screen shares, and then I have a couple of other examples that we'll go ahead and talk out. So the first screen share example I have is of a story, and it's from Aesop's Fables. And perhaps you guys remember Aesop. Let's make sure that am I sharing to everyone, Bobby?
You are, because I'm talking and I'm staying. Oh, wait, no, it went away.
Okay, I'm trying to find out how to share with everyone like you do.
Up at the top.
Okay, present to everyone.
There you go.
Okay, here we go. You guys, so this is Aesop's Fables. So one hot summer's day, a fox was strolling through an orchard until she came upon a bunch of grapes, just ripening on a vine which had been trained over a lofty branch. "Just the thing to quench my thirst," quoth the fox. But the vine on which the grapes was hung was too high for the fox to reach, even with her longest stretch. So she decided to jump. And when she decided to jump up and try to reach the grapes, she couldn't reach the grapes. So she ran towards the vine and she took a really great leap, but she missed the grapes. Turning around, she jumped again, this time too with no success. The fox tried to jump for the grapes again and again and again, to no avail. At last, she turned away, beguiling herself of her disappointment, and said, "The grapes are sour and not ripe as I thought. It's easy to..." I can't read what the rest of it says here, but it says it's easy. But can you read what it says? It's easy to...
Oh, and then there's me there. It's easy to despise
what you cannot get. Okay.
There you go.
You guys, what this means is, like in a real life example, when we're not talking about the fox and the grapes, but this is a really easy way to describe what cognitive dissonance is. So the fox wants the grapes, wants the grapes, wants the grapes, cannot get the grapes, so talks herself out of wanting the grapes. How does this apply to our abuse? When we're children, we want our parents' love. We want our parents' love. We want our parents' love. When we realize that love comes with pain or abuse or other horrible things, we decide that we don't want our love. And so we feel empty and we miss our parents and we want their love. So we want their love, but then it's abusive, and so we don't want their love. It's perfectly illustrated when Bobby has a really good description where she talks about having her foot on the accelerator and the brake at the exact same time. That's like a physical walking out of this mental thing that goes on. Another example here, let me stop sharing this particular screen share with everyone. Okay, so a good example of how this works in like a domestic violence situation, you guys, like let's say we're fast forward, we're adults now and we're involved because all we learned was abuse as a child. Now we're involved with a romantic partner in our adult lives, and we're in an interpersonal relationship with them, and the relationship becomes abusive. So we don't want to be alone. And so we decide, well, they're not that abusive. Like, they didn't hit me, like hit me. They just shoved me a little bit. So it's not that bad. It's not real abuse. If it was real abuse, they would have like hit me. Or they would have been abusive. And so we sort of convince ourselves that we don't need to leave. Even though we know we need to leave and it's unsafe. The relationship is unsafe. It's abusive. We need to get out. But we know that abusive relationships are bad, and when we are in an abusive relationship, we want to get away. But if we get away, then we might end up alone, and so we convince ourselves that it's not that bad, and we stay. And so, Bobby, you can jump in anytime here and give an example. I have one more screen share, but if you want, I wanted to hear your thoughts on the fox and the grapes and how that sort of like, I want that, but I can't have that, so maybe I didn't want it after all.
Right. It's that cognitive dissonance comes from when what we believe is in direct contradiction with our reality experience. Okay? So this is my mother, and I believe that mothers are supposed to be loving. But my reality is my mother is not loving towards me. Those two things contradict. And so that leaves us in a state of cognitive dissonance. Okay, so here's the fox. Their belief is that those grapes will quench their thirst. But the reality is they can't get to the grapes. And so they're left having to fix that disconnect in their head. And they do it by saying, oh, never mind, they probably weren't good. They weren't going to taste any good. They were just going to be, sour. I don't really want them.
It's easier to admit, it's easier to change our mind than it is to admit that we couldn't accomplish something. Because when we don't accomplish something and you're raised in a toxic environment, there is usually shame involved in that. And shame is very painful and it can be very toxic. So, the last screen share I have is a really good example of that. And it talks about how when I want to be very careful. I want to really just look at you guys in the face, and I want to be careful about this. Please do not shame yourselves when I show this screen share to you. This is not about you doing something bad on purpose. I don't care what your abusers and your enablers and your toxic loved ones said to you. You did not do any of this on purpose. This is not your fault. You were a child, okay? And you were raised on a foundation of things that were partial truths, okay? Love wasn't really love. There was abuse involved, okay? So please do not shame yourselves when I share this screen share with you. I want you to make sure that you know that. This is not for you to shame yourself. This is to help you, okay? So this is what happens. In order for us to be able to cope with the fact that the truth and what's really and what else is going on don't match up, we tell ourselves a little lie, like, well, it's not that bad. I'm not saying we lie maliciously. I'm not saying we are liars. I'm saying that we tell ourselves a lie in order to cope. Kind of like people talk about, well, I didn't tell you because I didn't want to hurt your feelings. Like, but you lied. And so we get frustrated with them for not being completely honest with us. They didn't outright lie to us on purpose, even though it was wrong that they didn't say what they were going to say. So when I share this next screen share with you, it talks about how we lie to ourselves. I'm not saying you lie to yourself on purpose and you're a horrible person and you should know better. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when met with these circumstances and these situations regarding our abuse, especially if the abuse happened in our family of origin, you guys, that is so painful, because it's easier to deny that that person is abusive, because if you have to admit to yourself that that person is abusive and that all these people saw and they did nothing about it, so not only is that person bad, but all these people are bad too. And if all these people that are in my family are bad, I'm in this family and I'm in a bad family. And so that's too much to cope with. And so we lie to ourselves and say, well, it's not that bad. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. I'll handle it a different way. And it's almost like the worst of the two evils. And I want to encourage you that if cognitive dissonance has played a part in your life, which it happens a lot in people's lives, there's no shame in it. Anything that you've ever done to survive your childhood is nothing to be ashamed of, period. You're an adult. You own your stuff. As long as you're here and you're learning, just by definition of you being here with us, and that you want to improve. You want to grow. You want to learn. You want to recover. You want to be more than just a survivor. You want to thrive. You want to reach out. You want to advocate for others. So you're not staying stuck and playing the victim card, okay? It is difficult to accept the truth, which is that some families just aren't loving, because then it begs the question, well, why my family? Why did I have to be the one that was born with a family that wasn't kind and loving? And then that sort of unravels everything. It's very painful. Nothing is going to erase the shitstorm that was your life or your circumstances. But we can't live there in our circumstances in our past. We have to accept them, realize that we can't change them, and then move forward so that we can learn and grow and survive and thrive and find joy and peace and happiness. So I'm going to share this other screen share, and it's a quote. And this quote is by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Dostoevsky, I believe is how you say his name.
Dostoevsky.
Dostoevsky. Thank you. Fyodor Dostoevsky. Thank you, Bobby, my wordsmith. I love it when you know the answer to something. It makes me so happy. Okay, so I'm going to share this with you. And this is a great example of what happens with cognitive dissonance. Okay. Above all, don't lie to yourself. The man who lies to himself and listens to his own lie comes to a point that he cannot distinguish the truth within him or around him, and so loses all respect for himself and for others. And having no respect, he ceases to love. So this is a deep, 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 deep truth, you guys. And that is, if we allow ourselves to fall down this slippery slope of not only do we sort of lie and say that it's okay, and well, they're our family, blood's thicker than water, it's okay if they treat me that way, but it's not okay if they treat my kids that way, but it is okay if they treat me that way, but not my kids, and there's sort of this double standard, and we're sort of lying to ourselves about that. Guess what happens when we don't face up to the truth? The truth is that it's not okay for people to treat other people with disrespect. The truth is it's not okay to abuse people. The truth is it's not okay for anyone to abuse or mistreat our children, and it's not okay for them to abuse or mistreat us. That is congruence. That is the absence of a double standard. However, when we put a double standard in there and we actually say, how dare you, you're not allowed to treat my kids that way, but yet they've been treating you that way your whole entire life, and you don't stand up for yourself because they're your family, blood is thicker than water, you want your kids to know their aunts and uncles, or whatever the excuse might be, or the justification might be. There's something going on in your mind that is causing a cognitive dissonance, and there's a conflict. There's an inner conflict. You know that what's going on is not okay. It's not okay for that person or that person or that person, and it's also not okay for you to be treated that way. But you've been sort of letting it slide. You allow people to sort of cross your interpersonal boundaries and treat you in a way that you wouldn't want other people to be treated. What happens when we do that is we begin shaming ourselves. As this quote says, that when we believe or listen to our own lie, it comes to the point that we cannot distinguish the truth within ourselves or around us, and we lose all respect for ourselves, and we lose respect for others. And when we have no respect for ourselves or others, we cease to love. And that's when we spiral down that dark, dark, deep, deep, deep pit of depression. This causes depression. Okay, cognitive dissonance is something that can cause depression. I was doing so much research on this topic today so that I could illustrate this for you guys. Let me stop sharing this with everyone here. I want you to know that if every day of your life for 4,879 days, you have been living with this little double standard in your life, it's not too late. If you have any type of traces of cognitive dissonance, if you're experiencing this in your life right now, because you're like, well, I see how my loved ones treat this person and this person and this person, and then they don't really treat me that way, and then it's sort of like seeping into the way they treat my kids, and I'm not okay with that. It's never too late for you to establish a healthy interpersonal boundary. Here we go with the boundaries again. You guys are probably rolling your eyes right now. I see you rolling your eyes right now when we're talking about boundaries. You guys, the truth will set us free. I'm going to say it again. It bears repeating. The truth will set us free. If you feel that you are in bondage and confusion to what's going on this topic of cognitive dissonance, and that there's a double standard in your life, and that you're allowing people to treat you a certain way that you wouldn't want other people to be treated, it's never too late for you to say, you know what? I'm going to set my intention to begin looking at the things in my life that I used to believe, and I'm going to non-emotionally, only just practically and with just the facts in place, I'm going to look at my life as a series of situations, and I'm going to look and see which ones are okay and which ones are not okay. And I'm going to begin establishing interpersonal boundaries and not allowing certain things to go on in my life. And I'm going to seek the help of my safe community, and I'm going to ask them, like, does this seem right to you? Does this seem right to you? This is the way I'm being treated or spoken to. Does this seem right to you? There's also a really great workbook. It's a dialectical behavioral therapy workbook. We're going to talk about this on our one page in a little bit when I turn this back over to Bobby. But there are ways. It's not too late. I want to give you some hope right now. All of the stuff that I've just described can really, really, really mess with our minds because there's an incongruence. It gives you sort of that pit in your stomach. You're going, this is all very familiar. This is all really confusing because if that's true and that's true and that's true, then that means my whole family. And then like it becomes very overwhelming. So rather than let it overwhelm you and spiral down a deep, dark pit of depression, please know that there's hope and that we have a couple of really easy steps that can help you get your footing with regards to this topic and move forward in a way that feels congruent and in alignment with yourself. Because that's why we're here. We're here to help you with that. So I hope that that shines a much needed light on this topic, and that not only does it give you the inner workings of the topic, but it gives you some hope and some jumping off points. Bobby, how is everybody doing on the Twitter stream, and would you like to go to our one page?
Yeah, people are talking about how they identify that in their lives, and how painful and hard it is to recognize that the reality of that their family is not that healthy. You know, and I want to point out that oftentimes this cognitive dissonance starts when you're little. Okay, it's not something that just all of a sudden happens when you're an adult. It can start when you're an adult if you're in a domestic violence situation. But if, like most of us, you were abused as a child, your cognitive dissonance started very, very young. And you have to remember, you had a child's mind at that time. You didn't have complex reasoning and problem-solving situations. When your father was saying to you, I love you, and then 2 hours later, sexually abusing you, and your mind couldn't put those two things together because you were taught that your dad loved you, but now your dad's hurting you, and love and hurt don't go together, you couldn't sit down and reason, oh, well, this is because my father was abused when he was a child, and therefore his impulse control and his boundaries are out of whack, and he has some sexual issues that he needs to address, and he hasn't addressed them, he hasn't been in therapy, so therefore he's acting out his behavior on me. No, you can't do that. So instead, we're left in this place of conflict, and it causes distress for us, especially when we're children. We don't know how to make sense of that. And we are, as human beings, we are wired to make meaning. That is part of our innate brain programming, to make meaning of situations that we encounter. And so we do exactly what Athena talked about in that quote from Dostoevsky. We blame ourselves. Because we're sitting there going, okay, my dad is supposed to love me, but my dad hurts me. Those two things don't go together. So something is wrong. I'm feeling distressed. I'm going to resolve that distress by deciding that I must be bad. I must be to blame for what happened. I must be bad and deserve it. Or I must have done something to cause him to do that. And poof, there goes the cognitive dissonance. And there goes the distress from the cognitive dissonance. Because you have changed your belief to match your reality. Okay? Exactly what Athena was talking about when she was talking about the adult experience with being in a relationship with a partner who treats you badly. Your reality is that you're being treated badly. But your brain tells you someone who loves you should treat you well. Okay? They don't match. And so you start to feel confused. You get that cognitive dissonance and you can't make sense of it. And you don't want to believe that you have a partner who would hurt you. And so what do? You make sense of it and you make that cognitive dissonance disappear by saying, oh, it's not that big of a deal. I don't have a black eye. The children didn't see it. It was just a few words. Boom. And again, we minimize it, or we choose to believe a lie, like we did when we were children, even though we were children. And so it wasn't our intent to believe a lie. It was our intent to get rid of that cognitive dissonance, which is so hard for a child to face. We have to make meaning. A child cannot sit in that double standard. That, as someone said this morning, perfectly stated, you cannot sit in that dialectic, that dialectically opposed place. We can't, as a child, our brain does not have the complex functioning to be able to go, okay, Dad says he loves me, but he hurts me. And I know that probably somewhere inside him, my dad does love me, but, his childhood screwed him up so much that, he does this. And so that's why A and B are existing in the same way, the same time. That's why my reality doesn't match my belief. And it's okay with that. I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to be fine. I'm fine. No problem. You can't do that. We can't do that, especially for those of us when your abuse started when you were 2 or 3 years old. There's no way you had that capacity. So I just want to echo what Athena said. Don't blame yourself. Don't beat yourself up if you grew up believing that the abuse was your fault. Don't beat yourself up if you minimized the abuse. Don't beat yourself up if you chose to ignore and survive. As Athena said, if you survived, you win. It's not your fault.
it's just so, it's so ingrained, you guys. Sometimes it's all that we know. I want to give one last example before we jump into our one page, Bobby, if that's okay with you. I would love to hear your comments on this. So I've shared with you several times before, you guys, that I was in an abusive marriage, and I was able, it was all I really knew. Abuse was all I really knew. And I didn't know, you don't know what you don't know. So I can't tell you how many times I've heard survivors say, I always thought my childhood was normal. I never knew that my childhood was abusive until I got older. I'm just now realizing that my childhood was something that was so-called, you know, quote unquote abusive. I didn't know. I just didn't know. And so that the same held true for me. And I'll give you an example. So many of you know that I grew up in a very violent environment with my mother and my mom's third husband. And he was extremely violent, and my mother was extremely violent. There were weapons, there were drugs, there was blood, there were knives, there was guns, there was police activity. It was terrifying. It was not uncommon for me to see my mother beaten, unrecognizable, just bloody and swollen. And I would run and I would try to rescue her. And I would often get hit in the process. It was very scary. It was terrifying. But the level of abuse was so off the charts, and the level of physical violence and the degree of verbal abuse and the high levels of manipulation and emotional abuse and withholding of love and bullying, and just all of it was so toxic on 12 different levels, that when I got into a marriage with someone who was abusive, I justified staying in the marriage because he didn't beat me with a closed fist and make my face swollen. He didn't pull out weapons on me. He didn't hurt my son. I justified staying because while it was a little not so great, and it was really a lot not so great, you guys, but in my mind, I justified staying because it wasn't what I grew up with. I was desensitized to interpersonal violence because of the ongoing level of violence that I witnessed growing up. I thought that was normal. And I saw it on TV too, like on different like police shows. So like I would be like, well, we're not crazy. Like it's like, that's how it is. Look at, it's like on the news and the TV and like, it's like whatever. And so when I was married, here I was, my son was, I think he was 7 years old. And I was so excited. I had waited. I was just so excited to get married. Well, it turns out right after I got married, the person that I married, he moved into my home and brought all of his stuff. Well, his computer had all these like naked pictures and stuff on it, and I was not okay with that. And my son would play video games on his computer with him, and I didn't want my son to see that. And so I like asked him like we need to delete that stuff. And at first, like he pretended that, oh yeah, we'll delete that. And then when he didn't, I went in and I deleted it. Well, he flew into a rage when I deleted his pictures. And then I was digging deeper and found out that he was having like online relationships with young girls that were 14 years old. And I realized that I had married a pedophile. And I was sick to my stomach. I knew I needed to get out. I needed to make a plan. And I knew at this point, I saw the rage that happened when I deleted his pictures. I knew that he was capable of violence that I was familiar with. And so I took every step possible. And yet, like I tried to seek counseling and they're saying, well, you shouldn't get divorced. That's bad, etc. And I'm like, you don't understand what I'm in. Like, this is not a good situation. And they, you know, the people that I met with at the counselors, they were at a church and they were saying, you know, they don't believe in divorce. And so they're saying you should stay and, you know, he just needs to get help, etc., etc. Well, I tried to see if he would get help. Well, you guys, he flew into a rage. He spit on me, like hawked a loogie and spit on my face and slammed the door and nearly broke my arm, slammed my arm in the door. And like something clicked and I'm like, this is just as bad as my childhood. But I had made excuses all the way up until then. It's not as bad. It's not as bad. It's not as bad. It's not as bad. The cognitive dissonance that I was experiencing was huge. And it was just clouding everything. All I had ever known was violence. And so if violence that I was experiencing now wasn't as bad as the violence that I experienced previously, I was like, well, it must be okay. And for anyone out there that's never been in an abusive relationship, y'all are thinking, like, what is wrong with the blonde girl? Like, hello, is she ditzy or what? What's her deal? But for any of you that understand and you've come from an environment that is abusive, you know that there's like different degrees that you're like, well, it's not that bad. Maybe it's not as bad because he doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. Well, at least he doesn't do this. And once I believed the truth and I looked at it just with the facts in place, like, okay, well, these things are not okay. I need to get out and get away from that. It wasn't until that I was able to, call the police. I downloaded all the stuff from his computer. They contacted the girl's parents that he was in a relationship with. We moved into a gated community where he could never find us. And I mean, it was like, you have to take steps. You have to be really, really, really safe when you get out of a situation like that, you guys, because a lot of this, I know that our friends over in domestic violence chat, they'll tell you this. They'll tell you that the most dangerous time in a relationship with someone who's abusive is when you try to leave. So many people die when you try to leave an abusive relationship. So if there are any of you that are involved in domestic violence and you're watching this video, I want to tell you, it's about time. You really are going to need to start getting real with yourself. And it's better now than never, and better now than later. Because the longer you wait and the longer you wait to establish that interpersonal boundary on what it is that you will allow in your life and what you won't, and what is the truth and what is okay and what is not okay, the more easy it is to stay and the more risk you're in of staying stuck in that situation or possibly being abused. Bobby, have you experienced anything similar to this, or what are your comments on that?
More times than I'd like to admit. Yeah. In my second marriage, there were multiple incidents of being placed in positions that were just, when you look back on them, it's like, how in the world did I tolerate that? But we have to remember that our childhood desensitizes us to violence. It desensitizes us to abuse. Just exactly like you said, I spend my childhood being raped. And if I grow up and someone just smacks me upside the head, I'm like, hey, that's still better than that. So we have to reset our tolerance meter. But in order to do that, we have to be aware that we even have a tolerance meter that's, off and wonky. So, yeah, I've been there, and I've had to deal with the guilt of feeling like I missed so much that I should not have missed, that a normal person wouldn't have missed. But I've learned, I'll never get in that kind of situation again. I've done my work and I've moved on. And that's that mercy and that grace that we all need to give ourselves. So much of this was set in our brain when we were a child. And we cannot judge ourselves for that. We just can't. We don't need any more shame and guilt than we already have. We've met our quota. That's it. We're done. No more. So let's take a look at the one page. Is that okay, Athena?
Yeah, the truth will set us free. That's one of the most important things to note about cognitive dissonance. If you guys are stuck in any type of cognitive dissonance or you're experiencing it, just know that if you step back and you look at something from a fresh perspective with only the facts in place, and like, here's the facts, and not any emotion, and you're just looking at something like, is this okay? You're looking at it from a rational perspective and not an emotional perspective, and you're able to make some really good life-changing decisions. It's painful, but it's clear. and then it's not so foggy. Cognitive dissonance is so confusing. I mean, the word itself, dissonance, is like you're, what? You know, if there's just two conflicting things going on, I'm just not sure what to choose. I'm not sure what to do. So this one page that we put together for you is all time. I want to give a very special thank you and acknowledgement to our intern, who is in charge of all of our research over the past month or so, and will be with us for as long as she'll stay with us. And her name's Maggie. And so just thank you, Maggie. Thank you for being part of our team and for all you do for the survivor community. This one page is incredible, and I'm so excited for Bobby to share it with you.
Okay, let's take a look here. Okay, let me make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so again, this is, if you want a copy of this, it is yours for the downloading over on nomoreshameproject.com. Just click on the tab that says downloadables, and this will be the very first one at the top of the page. They are all in order, the most recent to the oldest, topic-wise. Okay, as human beings, we are seekers of meaning. We have an innate drive to understand why things happen in our lives, to make sense of things that aren't readily sensible. One of the most difficult elements of our childhood abuse is making sense of what happened to us and why. This is especially true if our abuser is a family member or someone who our family taught us is safe. For example, a minister, a teacher, or a sports coach. We don't understand how those who are abusing us can both care about us and hurt us at the same time, or why they can be abusing us if we're supposed to be safe with them. So that sets up the two conflicting components, okay? I'm safe with this person, that's my belief. The reality is they're hurting me. This person loves me, that's my belief, but the reality is they're hurting me. Okay, so there you go. Those are the two opposing reality with belief. Reality with belief. By definition, cognitive dissonance is the confusion that occurs whenever a person is confronted with information with conflicts with their own understanding. When reality conflicts with what we've been taught to believe. Okay? So again, the cognitive dissonance comes from that conflict between what we believe and what we are experiencing. Confronted by evidence which contradicts our values or beliefs, we are forced to make an uncomfortable choice: to hold on to our belief and disregard the data or the reality that we've been presented with, or to modify our beliefs to match the new circumstances. That is what we have faced as children. Just reading that sentence, understanding that is complex. For you have to remember that you were a child when you were confronted with that situation. It's complex now. Of course it was complex when you were a child. Cognitive dissonance can lead to significant emotional distress in children. Our search for meaning and confusion are being thwarted, often by those who are supposed to be able to we are supposed to be able to trust. When we are in emotional distress, we will do whatever seems reasonable to resolve that distress and ease our emotional pain. As children, we don't have complex reasoning skills. It's outside of our abilities to discern that our abuser's behavior is due to their own innate flaws. Okay, so that's when we can't sit down and go, okay, so my dad was abused when he was a child, so that's why he has, low impulse control and yada, yada, yada. We can't do that. Our brain has not reached that level of complex functioning. So therefore, we often resolve our cognitive dissonance and the resulting emotional pain by providing our own explanation. And most often, we decide that the reason we're being abused is because we are bad and deserve the abuse, or that we wanted it to happen. Sometimes an abuser will tell a child that is why the abuse is happening, or an enabler of the abuser will give that excuse. For example, you should know better. I've always told you that you shouldn't go around your Uncle Joe when he's been drinking. Okay, so there's the child set up to believe that the reason their belief does not match the reality is because of something bad inside them. Okay? My father is supposed to love me, but he hurts me. And the way we resolve that conflict and wipe out that emotional distress is to insert the lie, which it is a lie, that our Father would treat us well because he loves us if only we weren't bad. So we insert that component. Our explanation is we're bad, we must have deserved it. And then all of a sudden the cognitive dissonance goes away, because now our Father can still love us, and that can make sense with the abuse, because now we have that bridge from the reality to the belief that says, okay, it isn't true in this situation because I deserved it. We build a bridge, and it gets rid of our cognitive dissonance. To help resolve cognitive dissonance from our childhood, utilize these tips and strategies. Identify the beliefs you adopted as a child in order to resolve the cognitive dissonance and emotional pain that were false. For example, what happened was my fault. That's a huge one. I see that so often amongst the survivors that I work with. And that was my resolution. That was the explanation I put in my head when I was a child to resolve the cognitive dissonance and the emotional pain I felt, was that it was my fault. I must have been bad. And then the one I see the second most often is, I must have wanted it to happen. Okay, which is ridiculous, because there's no way that 3, 4, 5-year-old child, or any child of any age, wants an adult to sexually assault them. And then you have to identify beliefs you hold that stem from that original false belief. Okay? So I absorbed in my mind, I resolved my cognitive dissonance by embracing the reality that I was bad. And then I used that to build a framework of other beliefs. Okay? So if I'm bad, I then deserve bad things to happen to me. I can't create anything good. My life will always be bad. And now all of a sudden I feel hopelessness and despair. So not only do we have to go back to our childhood and identify those false beliefs we set up as a result of our cognitive dissonance, but then we have to identify the second level of lies or false beliefs that we set into place based on that lie, because they are just as invalid as the original belief. So if I take away the belief that I'm bad, then the whole house of cards has to fall, right? Because if I'm good, if the truth is I'm good, then I can do good things, and I deserve good things to happen to me. And there is hope, because I can have a good life. you then have to reprocess the experiences of our childhood, and come to terms with the fact that it wasn't your fault. But that in and of itself can raise up a tidal wave of feelings and emotions. Because as you look at your childhood and you realize it wasn't your fault, then you have to face the anger and the pain of realizing that it was the fault of people that you should have been able to rely on to protect and take care of you. And that is a painful realization. And just tonight on the Twitter stream, I've seen several people say, this is the place that I'm at. And it is so painful. And I want to acknowledge that. It is incredibly painful to face the reality that people who were supposed to love you, that you loved, betrayed your love for their own selfish purposes. That's hard to face. And we want to emphasize that you should seek support and help to process their emotions, as they can feel overwhelming. And then you have to tackle the false beliefs you constructed as a result of the cognitive dissonance, and those that stem from the original false beliefs. Reprogramming our belief system and thought process is very important in our recovery, as deconstructing those beliefs is the key to living a life free of the falsehoods. Finally, we can believe we're good, we deserve good things, and can do good things. Okay? And that takes some work, because we programmed into our brain over years of time the belief that we were bad. So just realizing, hey, wait a minute, that's not true, unfortunately will not undo immediately all of that programming that we set into place. It will take some time to reprogram our brain to automatically think, I'm good. I deserve good things. Good things can happen to me. That takes some time. So don't expect, once you realize the lies from your childhood, don't expect that it's just going to change overnight. It will take some work, but you can do it. And we really encourage you to become invested in community with other survivors who have been there and who will support you and not judge you as you go through that process. And then the last piece down here is about dialectical behavior therapy. And if you'll remember, I mentioned earlier, the word dialectic means to be able to stand in two conflicting places and be okay with it. Okay? I can acknowledge that I'm in a lot of pain, but I can also acknowledge that I'm fine. It's okay to be in a lot of pain, and that doesn't mean that you're not okay. You can handle that. You can tolerate that distress. You can resolve it. You can figure it out. Okay? So dialectical behavior therapy is an excellent therapy modality for resolving those beliefs that got programmed into our brain as a result of our cognitive dissonance from our childhood. And so we encourage you to look into that method of therapy. And there are workbooks and all sorts of awesome things out there that you can access on your own, or you can access a therapist or a professional who has experience with dialectical behavior therapy. And that is all she wrote.
This is a really painful topic, you guys. We don't want to skim over anything or minimize anything. This is really hard stuff. This is not for the faint at heart. This is not for someone who just wants to skim on through. We say this every week, and I'll say it again because it bears repeating. Nothing in our recovery is linear, and nothing is wave a wand, one and done. It's often time and time and time and time again, over and over and over, healthy habits, healthy habits, healthy habits. And then we end up experiencing the freedom that we've wanted all along. It takes a lot of hard work. It's not easy. The healing process from recovering from childhood abuse of any kind involves so many layers of transformation and uncovering and discovery and refining and deleting of old files and choosing new choices and making healthier habits. And there's just so much. It's so complex. And there's no simple answer to how to heal from any type of childhood abuse. Bobby and I are hugely supportive of the idea that everyone's recovery journey is their own. You have to go at your own pace, and it is multifaceted. It is. I mean, there's the grieving that needs to happen. Dialectical behavioral therapy really helps. Cognitive behavioral therapy is very, very helpful. A whole myriad of different modalities can be very helpful for you. There's always some support that happens that is unlike any other support when it happens within a safe community. We're huge proponents of being involved in some sort of safe community, which is why we are holding this conference in November, so that survivors from all over can come and be in the same room with one another. Something magical happens in our virtual safe groups when everyone comes together and supports one another. And we are anticipating how amazing it is going to be and life-changing and transformational to be in the same room with these wonderful souls that have helped us navigate the painful, choppy waters of recovery from childhood abuse and get to look at them face to face and say, thank you. Thank you. You have helped to change my entire life. You were there for me in my darkest hour when I was struggling and I had no one to reach out to that lived nearby, but I came to our safe group and there you were with a comment or a like or some sort of an emoji or just a kind word. And there's so much to be said for that, you guys. And just to be in the same room with all of you and to be able to thank you in person for just the beauty that you bring to this community is, I'm over the moon about the whole thing. So thank you for being here with us. Thank you for tackling the tough topics like this one. We're never one to shy away from the tough topics, like we've said previously. And I know that I speak for Bobby as well. And we're committed to tackling the tough topics with you. We don't want you tackling the tough topics by yourself. In order to recover, you will probably have to tackle the tough topics. And so we don't want you to do it alone. That's why we're here with you. Bobby, did you have anything you'd like to say to everyone that's always here every week before we transition into a time when we welcome new people who have never been here before?
It's so wonderful to see each of you again. I love seeing your avatars pop up in our Twitter stream. And my phone seems to already know most of you. When I click on your Twitter handle, my phone pops up. Hi, August. Hi, Jen.
I love it so much that your phone already knows everyone.
Yeah, that's so cool.
It is so cool.
So, yes. So we delight in you. And we're so glad that you're here. And we're so glad that you stick with us when we talk about these hard things. Because talking about them, naming them, takes away a lot of their power. So, no secrets.
It does. And like you just said, Bobby, when we name something, not only does it take the power away from it, and it demystifies it, right?
Right.
But it helps us to sort of put a face with the name, like we can see it for what it really is, and we can move forward in that direction and sort of tackle it in more of a linear fashion if there's a name on it. Like, okay, I can name what that is now, and I can sort of tackle it. Not that it's going to be linear, because our abuse is not a linear process, but I love that, Bobby. Like, once we put a name to it, it demystifies it. It takes its power away, and Yeah. So, you guys, I wouldn't want to be healing any other way. Bobby and I are always very clear when we share with you that we don't have it all figured out. Yes, we are helping professionals. Yes, we do. We help others for a living. But we are, as Bobby says, we are on both sides of the desk. We are both survivors that are navigating the waters of recovery. The only difference is our recovery isn't a 24/7, 365 thing that is like in our face right now, keeping us from making healthy choices the way that it used to be when we were stuck in the throes of trying to figure out and like keep our head above water and sinking and just feeling like we're drowning. So if that is you and you are feeling like you are just slipping or sliding down into a pit, or you're drowning, or you're feeling really overwhelmed, two things. You are not alone. We are here healing right alongside you, and it gets better. There is always hope. You are not going to stay stuck in the situation you're in right now. Knowing when you are mindful in the moment that you're in right now, you're able to say to yourself within the moment, even if it's a painful moment, this moment will not last. This moment will not last. Yes, I'm confused right now. Yes, this is painful right now, but this moment isn't going to last. It will get better. So I'm hoping that that helps someone out there. And just know that Bobby and I are honored to be here healing right alongside you. We're healing also. We're just choosing to do it in public. So thank you for being here with us. We're going to transition and welcome anyone who hasn't been here before and just share with you really briefly for the next 10 to 15 minutes max on how you can get plugged into a safe community and begin healing at an exponential rate with others just like you.
Yes, and really quickly before you go, don't forget the coloring book. Simi needs more submissions. We have 13. We need more. So
awesome.
Don't forget to submit those. Simi, who is Wave Mistress on Twitter, you can contact her. You can send in your submissions to her wavemistress@gmail.com. Yay!
Yeah. Yes, and if you're not familiar with what that is, we're a lot of the survivors in our community talked about how helpful adult coloring books have been for them, how therapeutic and cathartic they are just to be able to spend time. So what we've done is we have a theme. The theme is butterflies, and we decided to take submissions of artwork from survivors all over the world, and we're going to publish an adult coloring book for you to purchase, and we're going to use it as a fundraiser for our event coming up in November. So hopefully you are seeing this video within the month of July-ish. We would love for you to send in any type of drawing of a butterfly that we can use for our adult coloring book that will get distributed among the survivor community. It's for a great cause, and you'll be helping a lot of people. So Bobby has a couple of really awesome screen shares that we're going to share with you right now with step-by-step, like easy 1, 2, 3, 4 on how you can get plugged into safe community and begin healing at an exponential rate with other survivors by your side, so that you're not doing it alone. And you know, this can be something that you use to supplement, or like if you're working with a therapist or a counselor, this is great. You can also come join one of our groups, or even if you've never reached out to anyone for help, everyone is welcome. So just follow this 4-step process.
Remember when we were kids, there used to be the sing-along cartoons in the morning, Athena, and you follow the bouncing ball and you would sing along to the song?
Yes, I love those anymore.
I love those too. Yeah, we did a little bouncing ball. Okay, so these are ways to contact us. Please keep in mind that we will get back to you as soon as we can. So if we don't reply as immediately as you would like, we ask for you to give us some grace, especially as we are armpit deep in planning the conference right now. But we will get better at this. You can reach me at bobbylparish@gmail.com. Athena is at AthenaMobergspeaking@gmail.com. And then the No More Shame Project is our joint email account, and that is nomoreshameproject@gmail.com. You're welcome to follow us and interact with us on Twitter. We would love to interact with you. And as Athena mentioned, we have the 3 Twitter chats. We'll talk about those in the next screen share. I am Bobby L. Parrish. Athena is Athena Moberg. And Trauma Recovery University is Trauma Recovery U. We have our videos on YouTube, Roku TV, and Google+. Just hop on over there and do a search for Trauma Recovery University, and you will be able to find all of our videos. And I think there are probably close to 150 hours worth of content out there right now. So lots of information to you to binge watch or dissect in small bites. On Facebook, we have our professional joint page, Trauma Recovery University. My professional page, Bobby Parrish Coaching and Consulting. My personal page, Bobby Parrish. Athena's professional page, Athena Moberg Speaking, and her personal page, Dawn Athena Moberg. We would love for you to send us a friend request, and we would love to be your friend. So let's look at the very last.
So funny. It's so funny when you see people in person that you're friends with on Facebook, like for instance, I went and ran an errand this past weekend, you guys, and I saw somebody and they're like, "Oh, we're friends. Yeah. I'm meeting you. Oh, we're friends. Oh," like I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're already friends. Like we're friends on Facebook." So I can imagine like at our conference, there's going to be so many people saying, "Well, are we friends? Are we friends on Facebook?" Well, okay, well we're friends, but like, are we friends? Are we going to be friends? Like, are we friends? Like, it's just funny to see somebody in person and say, "Oh, but are we friends?" But yes. We're friends, but are we friends?
the double meanings that technology has brought into our life. Okay, these are ways to join us in safe community, and they are free, and always will be free and available to you. Again, we have 3 Twitter chats a week. The first is on Mondays. The hashtag is CSAQT. That is at 10 a.m. Pacific time and 6 p.m. Monday evening in the UK. And then there is the Twitter chat that if you're watching us live right now, you're interacting with us. Or if you're watching this on videotape and we're talking about tweets, that's a Twitter chat we're talking about. The hashtag is No More Shame, and we go live every Monday evening at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, or Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the morning in the UK. Tuesday evening is the original sex abuse chat, which I co-lead with Rachel Thompson, and the hashtag is Sex Abuse Chat. It is at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern, and Wednesday at 2 o'clock in the morning. You can watch our replays or interact with us every Monday night live at bit.ly/trauma recovery U. And the capitals do matter with bit.ly. If you would like to join, I'm going to make this bigger. If you would like to join one of our Facebook support groups, we would ask that you follow this 4-step process. And we ask that you follow this process because it is the simplest and the easiest way for us to get you plugged in. So if you send us an email saying, "I'd like to be part of your community," it's going to take us a while longer to get to you. So please follow this process. We ask that 1, you like the Trauma Recovery University page. 2, you send friend requests to both Athena and I. One or the other of us will be able to get to you first. We are in 2 very different time zones, and we have 2 very different schedules. So once one of us accepts your friend request, send that person a message that says, "I'd like to heal in safe community. I'd like to join one of your support groups," something along those lines. Please don't send the message before we accept your friend request, because then the message ends up in some infamous other folder, and we don't know that it's there. And Once we get your message, we will ask you some questions, and we ask that you please not be offended by that, because we're trying to discern that you are not a predator who wants to get into our support groups and take advantage of our family. And we do everything we can to maintain the safety of our support groups. After we have discerned that you are a safe individual, we will get you plugged in to one of our support groups. So that's it. That's the process. That's what we have to offer and how you can contact us. And we hope to see you in another one of those venues. And we hope to be able to get you plugged into one of our Facebook support groups if that's what you'd like to do.
Yes, absolutely. And we do look forward to meeting you in person in November at the beautiful Yay, at the beautiful Embassy Suites Lake Buena Vista Resort in Orlando, Florida. I think in one of the previous broadcasts I said Portland for some reason. I'm not sure why I did that, but we're going to be in Orlando, Florida this November 11th through the 13th, as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, and we'll be having the very first Trauma Recovery University live, where survivors and helping professionals will be coming together to learn with one another, from one another, and we'll have some incredible presentations, keynotes, breakout sessions, workshops. It's going to be transformational and life-changing, and I can't wait to meet you in person. And if you're not a hugger, perhaps I'll be able to give you a high five or something, or wave. Like we're finding ways to establish communication so that people know who are people who are huggers and who are not. And there's a lot of care and details and love that's going into the planning of this event, especially for you guys. So it's been a long time coming. We've been dreaming of this day for 2 years, and it's going to be a dream come true. I'm so excited, and I couldn't be more grateful to have Bobby by my side, doing this with her. And we've been dreaming of sharing a stage together so that we could teach together from day one in person. And here we are 2 years later, still every single week doing this virtually, but we will be on stage together, teaching together our trauma response model that we use in our coaching practices. So it's so exciting. I could sit here and talk with you about it for more hours, but I will let you go, because this video is right at about the time that it needs to finish. So thank you for being here with us, everybody. We appreciate you every single week, and we'll see you at one of our Twitter chats, or right here every single Monday for live Q&A, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday. And you can easily find us by searching our Roku television, searching for our Roku television channel, or our YouTube channel by looking, just searching for Trauma Recovery University. Bobby, did you have anything you'd like to say to anybody before we go?
Have a great evening. Take care of yourself. Sometimes chat can be triggering even hours afterwards. So take gentle care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. I'm Athena Moberg, and this is Bobby Parrish, and we love bringing you everything you need for healthy, informed trauma recovery. Bye.